Welcome to the Indie Style with Leah DeVon show, where we celebrate successful, independent entrepreneurs in music, business, and entertainment. Get ready to meet indie entrepreneurs across the globe who are winning in their industry. I'm Leah DeVon, and this is Indie Style. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Indie Style. I'm your host, Leah DeVon. Well, we have a wonderful show planned for you today because you get to meet an extraordinary person. He is a mentor and a dear friend of mine. His name is Dr. Bill Scott. Dr. Bill Scott is a former elementary and middle school principal. He has classroom teaching experience ranging from kindergarten through fifth grade. Now, Bill is known for his infectious personality, and he has done an incredible job of spreading positivity and positive discipline to the different schools that he has been a part of. He has traveled internationally. He has worked with different schools, administrators, and there's just so much that I cannot wait to share with you about the wonderful Dr. Bill Scott.
Thank you for that introduction.
I was like, I'm not going to read your bio is so long because you have just, like, I was telling my producer, he's like the GOAT of education. So I'm like, let me just riff with it. But hi, Bill.
How are you?
I am good. Welcome to Indie Style.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I am so happy that you are here. Now, it's very interesting because before we get, into our interview, I want to let everybody know that you are the very first person who hired me right out of college. You were very kind. I was very green. I remember, walking into your school, and I think after you were kind enough to offer me the job, I think I said something to the effect of, well, let me see how far it is from my house to the school, and I'll call you back. I was like, I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember, but that sounds like something you would have said.
Like, let me call you back. But I'm so grateful that I got a chance to just get to know you. And I want you to know that oftentimes when I talk about men in my life who I highly respect, you are in that top three. My father, my husband, and you are in that top three. Oftentimes when I talk about men who have impacted my life and who I think are just extraordinary. So I do want you to know that before we jump into our interview.
Well, thank you.
So you are most welcome. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the wonderful things that you have done. So tell me a little bit about, like, how did you even get into education? What inspired you to become an educator?
Education was not my first choice of study when I went to college. I had served in high school as a student council, senior class officer, all those things. So I was always in a lead position, but it was odd. I was not the typical one who led the class according to the history of my high school. It was always the football captain and cheerleaders and people like that. And I was just a nice guy, but people liked following me because I spoke with reason and I was never afraid to speak out. And as you know, I will speak out on issues that are of importance to me, and I don't care what other people think about it. If doing the right thing is the right thing to do, that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, I went to college and I was going to be an attorney. And my father was so excited that I was going to be an attorney because he had a business and he's like, you're going to be my attorney. And I'm like, okay. So I go to college, and I think one of the things that happened that first semester is I got some bad counseling as far as classes to take, because they had me taking things like political science, world history, and sociology all at the same time. And that's reading. And I noticed that living in a freshman dorm, and guys would do like 2 hours worth of homework, and then they were partying all night, and I'm reading and studying all night. And so I couldn't participate in any of that. So it didn't make me happy. Later, as I got into the study of political science, I noticed that a lot of politicians were crooked, and I was young and naive, and I'm like, I can't do those things. It wouldn't faze me now, but eventually I changed my major. And the reason I went to education is in high school, I did volunteer work and I worked at a hospital, children's hospital with kids. And I got to where it was motivating for me to see them as they were motivated when they saw me, because I would go in and make noise and be funny and tell jokes. And these were bedridden kids and they really liked that. And I never forgot that. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to change to education. And people say, was that the easy route? No, it was, for me, it was the best route because it gave me an opportunity to use a lot of my background skills and to help others. So that was my start into education.
See, I did not know this about you. I could
Yeah.
see you as an attorney, but of course, I only see you as like, the administrator and just I, an educator. That's who I see you. And, everything. I'm always from a place of like everything happens for a reason. And so that was just your path and the journey that you were supposed to take. And so it worked out. So you know what? How long were you a teacher before you were an administrator? Because you were so young. When
Yeah,
I
I
think
was.
back, I didn't even think you were the principal. I was like,
Yeah.
is,
I only taught 6 years, a total of 6 years in the classroom.
so you were that guy. You were just like, okay, so I'm
Well,
good.
let me share this with you. My very first job was in Atlanta City, and I'm not going to say the school, but I was the youngest teacher in the school. And in fact, there were only three of us in our 20s. I was 23. The teacher next door to me was 27. A female teacher next door to me was 27. And a teacher in fifth grade, he was maybe a year older than me, 24. And everybody in the school was 40 and up. And they were so mean. And they were so mean to the kids. And when I didn't see any reason to be,
Right.
and many of them walked around with a yardstick broken half with tape around it, and they
What?
crack it against the wall if they saw kids doing the right thing, and they would say, "Honey, you just spending too much time working. It ain't that serious." And I'm like, these kids are behind. They're not reading. They're not doing this, that, and the other. And I thought, I don't know why they don't have faith in the kids. So that kind of bothered me. Well, that year went by, and at the end of the year, the principal said, our community is reducing, and the newest people don't have a job here. And I said, are you going to place me someplace else? And he said, well, you'll just have to wait and see. I wasn't going to wait. I changed counties, went to Cobb County, and got hired on the spot. And that started my career. And the thing about it was I was with people of all ages, and they were positive and they liked the children. So that kind of changed my outlook, because what I didn't want to do is the longer I stayed in education, I didn't want to like it less. But what I
Right.
did do is start liking it more, because I was
Wow.
around people that enjoyed being around children.
Right, right. And I think the thing about you, and the people that are watching, is you really do just have an infectious, just a warm personality. I mean, you mean business, you were just an flawless administrator. The kids listened, they were disciplined, but they knew you loved them. And this is so crazy for all the people who are watching. The school we worked at the time was in East Cobb County, and I don't even know how many kids were in the school, but there were a lot. It took me a couple weeks to just learn the 20 kids in my class.
Like
Like,
900.
and you knew like every kid's name, and that
Yes.
was like, you know, very inspiring. Like, how does he know every kid? Like, just it blew my mind, because you weren't that person behind a desk in the office. You were in that building like every day, walking around, making sure, again, I was really green out of
Well,
college.
no, if you think about it, though, a lot of principals stay behind their desks doing paperwork, because there is a lot of paperwork. And the only time teachers and students see them is if something's wrong. You know that the kids saw me all the time. And
They
I
did.
was in every classroom every day, and I
Yes,
knew what was going on every day.
I know.
Yeah.
It was so cool. But it was comfortable, but I want to get into the meat of positive discipline. I mean, you are just that's kind of your thing. Tell me how you even got into, positive discipline and character development and like in your schools, because I know that was a big thing when, I was working for you. I mean, and you really meant that. Tell everybody kind of like what that is and, how do you think that like contributes to a student's success?
I have to say this, that when you're in a work environment, a school or whatever, when somebody can walk up to you and call you by your name, you're like, oh, wow, I am important. So I did learn every child's name, but people never knew my secret. My secret was teachers were to have students' names taped on their desk. And I would learn 3 kids' names every day at every grade level, if that or an average like that. And so eventually you get to know them and you start to associate the person with the name that you read. And then people go, he does know everybody. I'm going to talk about positive discipline in a minute, but I remember one time I was sitting in the cafeteria, came up to me and she said, Mr. Scott, do you know my name? And I said, of course I know your name. She said, well, what is it? And I said, oh, girl, I can't believe you said that. And then her friend said, come on, Amanda, we're going to be late if we don't get back to class. And I said, Amanda, get out of here. And she said, oh, he does know my name. It was a newer kid that I didn't know. But if you think about it and you learn kids' names each year, then when the new kids come in, all you have to do is learn who they are. And everybody feels important. And that's one of the things that builds relationships. I discovered positive discipline because a teacher came to me and she handed me this book and she said, my dad's an administrator and he gave me this book and I think that you'll like it. And I said, okay. Well, I had one of those nights that I couldn't sleep and I started reading that book. And I read the whole book that night, stayed up reading that book, and everything in that book fit with what I believed. It is about building community. It's about training. You don't expect behaviors that you hadn't taught. And so it's, and people say, well, it's fluff, but it's not. It's about building community and it's about accountability. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the school taking accountability for making the school better. And school climate is very, very important. And also, if you think about it, things like focusing on self-esteem, acceptance, tolerance, empathy, communication, community. We have politicians who don't want schools to do that anymore. And I'm thinking, what a big mistake.
Yeah,
because you have to know who you're working with to be able to make an impact. And you know that not only did I know the students' names, I knew the teachers, husbands, and children. And if you told me your husband was sick or he wasn't doing well, the next day I would say, how's Kelvin doing?
Yeah, you would.
So it was always that personal relationship. Mm-hmm. And, I told this just the other day to some friends of mine. I collect elephants, as you know.
I do.
And that started because somebody said I had a brain like an elephant. I don't forget anything. Well, now that I'm older, I won't claim that anymore because sometimes I tell people I can't tell you what I ate for breakfast. So short-term memory is not as good, but long-term memory, I just remember a lot. And I've always been that guy who could do that.
That's pretty impressive. No, and I want to go back and we will continue on because I have a lot to ask. And I know Mikey's like, okay, we have so much time, but I'm just so excited. Like, but literally before we started, I said, this is like the GOAT of education. Like, and I, the time that I did teach, I worked for maybe 2 other schools. And literally, I remember in interviews saying, well, Mr. Scott did. I would talk about you in the interviews. And I remember one going, well, do you want to go back and work for him? And I'm like, he's retired. But, like, okay, lady, what's up? But that, and one thing I will say that's important is feeling seen. There are kids who, they come to school and the most attention they get is maybe from their teacher. The best meal that they get is from the cafeteria. All children don't go home to the same environment, so I like that you really did always make your schools a place where everybody had grace, everybody felt welcome. And one thing that I really think is awesome that I want our viewers to know is I remember the first time that we had like our first faculty meeting. I loved, like, everybody was there. Everybody. I don't care if you were paving the street, if you were the part of the custodial staff, if you were part of, the women, cafeteria management staff, or everybody was invited, and I liked that. You know what I mean? It was that to me was like, okay, he's good people.
Well,
This is
one of the
good.
things that I was told is if you bring those non-contracted people, you're going to have to see that they get paid. And so I told them, y'all don't have to come to meetings. And they said, we want to be there because we want to know what's going on and we want to be a part of it. And positive discipline kind of taught me that. And I didn't finish the story that I wrote to the lady who started it, positive discipline. Her name was Jane Nelson. California. And I told her that I read the book, I was going to start it with my staff and on and on and on. And she said, why don't you come out and train with me? So I went out to California for a week. I took some teachers with me and trained under her and got a bit better understanding. And we came back and we trained the staff. And it became such a part of me that people said that's who he is. Mm-hmm. So, but anything like that would help somebody be a better person, I was all for it. In fact, I used to always read self-help books because even though I portrayed myself growing up as a person who had a lot of clout and a lot of self-esteem, I didn't have it. I learned to mimic. I had older sisters, and I learned to mimic the behavior that they were just crazy about. Oh, he's cool, he's smart, he's this, he's that. And I would watch those guys and I would mimic their behaviors, but it was pretense. But if you practice something long enough, it can become you. And that's how I developed my character, because I wasn't that confident. I wasn't that confident being short, being small. I had my best friend. We became friends at age 12 and we're still friends today. We're kind of like carbon copies of each other. Hey, Daryl, how you doing? Because he's probably going to watch. But he and I have very similar personalities to this day. And had he gone into education, I think he would have picked up a lot of the traits and behaviors that I did teaching, because they're just kind of in us. We believe in people, we want to help people, and we want to include everybody. So that's very important.
Yeah, I like that. And it is so important, for, our kids to know, it's okay to be different. If everybody was the same, boy, the world would be just such a really boring place. That's what I used to always say when I was teaching, because children really do need to learn acceptance. And I like what you're saying about mimic what, you want to be. I always say that, that self-fulfilling prophecy of, if you hear, you will be great. You are so smart. You are worthy. You are enough. I tell my Jackson, you are enough all the time, because, kids get to a certain age and they try to be this and to be that. And I'm like, you are enough. And I do believe if you tell kids, you rubbed off on me. I kid you not. I took a lot of your principles. Like I said, I was so green. Like, my dad was like, just please give her a job. Please, like, give her work. You know what I mean? But you really instilled that. And it's not just in a classroom, but it really is with everyday life, and how you parent your children, how you treat other people, how you lift your friends up who you see need that, that positive self-esteem of feeling worthy, and you've always done such a tremendous job. And I want you to talk a little bit, because I know once you left administration, you went on and you've trained staffs, traveled internationally. Like, everybody wanted Bill Scott, to come, because you did a lot. And talk to us a little bit about, you did a program. I'm like rambling. Do your best. Don't settle for less. Tell me like a little bit about that.
Okay. It's a program that I created. And one of the reasons that I saw as an administrator, and also from teaching experience, a lot of people may not know this, but males have a pecking order. And a lot of people don't discuss it. They don't know it. And I'll give you an example. Okay. If you have a class and you take your boys outside and they have recess and they decide that they're going to play football. Well, the most athletic, the one who knows the game the best, he's going to rule the game. I'm quarterback, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of runs that whole circuit. And the kid who's not that good or not that athletic, if they want to play, they're the last one picked.
Mm-mm.
And so men take that. Let me tell you how it works on a male level. I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, and I have season tickets to the Atlanta Falcons. But I'm not a diehard football fan. And sometimes you'll hear men get together and they'll talk about, oh, in 2000, so-and-so was the best quarterback, and he helped win the Super Bowl. I don't even know who won the Super Bowl last year. And I know I watched the game. So when I'm in that arena and somebody, oh, this is the best quarterback ever, and his stats are this, that, and the other. When I'm in that arena, I'm quiet because I have nothing to add. I can tell you what I remember, but just like I say, boys have a pecking order, men have a pecking order. My pecking order where I would be at the top is if you put me in a situation and you want to talk about the learning of children and children behavior, I'm going to be the top dog in that situation. And people often wonder, why is it said that children have to learn to master reading by the 3rd grade? And I want you to think about this. If you think of kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd, you're learning to, from 3rd grade on, you read to learn. And so if you're not a reader by the 3rd grade, you're going to struggle because it'll be hard for you to find information for yourself. So when it comes to things about education and child development, a lot of things I've learned from other people, I've mimicked from other people, or I've studied under some of the great educators of our time to learn what to do to have a cohesive school and to create a better environment. I want to show you something real quick.
Okay.
It's a book that I got from a teacher, and it's called Way to Be.
Okay.
And a teacher gave me this book. It's dated 1202. And it says, Dear Mr. Scott, one of my favorite authors has written a wonderful book on 9 ways to be. I know that if he knew you, he would not only have 9, but he'd have 10, 11, 12, and it goes on, including your random acts of kindness and just because. So thanks for promoting all that you do to create a wonderful environment for us to work in. And then she says her name, and her name was Judy. So, it's not that you work for accolades. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Now, your question was about do the best, don't settle for less. When I see kids who don't feel included, and kids can be cruel, but you teach kids to do better. We do better when we know better. And so what we help them do is we help them understand that not everybody's the same, but everybody can be great at whatever they choose to do. So everybody has a lot to contribute. Not everybody will be an A student. Not everybody will be the top dog. Not everybody will be the valedictorian. But you know what? You can be better today than you were yesterday if you apply certain skills. And if you recognize your weakness, I'm not a good reader. I have to practice reading more. I'm not a good football player. I need to practice. When people say practice makes perfect, I say no, we don't look for perfection. I say practice makes improvement. And so what we want to do in our lifetime is always improve on the things that we do. So in creating the program, Do Your Best, Don't teachers wanted to hear about it, wanted to know about it because they had kids that weren't included. They had kids who felt that they were left out. They had kids with certain disabilities or needs that hadn't been met. And so what you do is you start talking to kids about what they're most proud of. You talk, and everybody has something that they do well. And sometimes you have to nudge them or help them understand what it is. But what you do is you see that all those things are important. And this one of the things that I did as a principal at school, I always had teachers do bonding activities with their kids. And you would get them to bond. And the reason that was so important as a teacher, if kids don't accept each other, they will sort and select themselves. The bad kids put up their radar, they're watching the other ones, and then they come together, they're friends. Your prissy little girls who could even be mean girls or whatever, they watch each other, boom, they become friends. And so you have all these clusters in your classroom. And if that's not done away with, you've got conflict. That is part of conflict. So when you take the time to get people to accept and understand and appreciate and acknowledge that we're all different, we all have different strengths, then they begin to see, you might be the smart guy and I thought you were the nerd, and you might be very athletic. You can help each other by working together. And there's no reason to fight. And you might come from this side of the community and I come from that. My mama told me, don't mess with these kids, blah, blah, blah. But in here and in this classroom and in this school, these are the rules. When you go home, then other rules apply. But you have to get people to understand that in a school, everybody plays a part and everybody is important. And that's what I always liked about working in a school. I'll tell this story. It includes you. That,
Oh, Lord.
that I had worked at, the high school that I hired Leah to, it was a professional working class community. And there were very few minorities in the school. And I had been at that school several years. And I said, it's time to make a change. And I went to a one school. And I just said, I want to make a change. And I wanted more of a challenge. Boy, did I get a challenge.
Yes,
and so Leah followed me and we went to this school. And after the first day or a couple of days of being at that school, she came to me and she said, did we make a mistake in coming here? And my principal answer was, no, we came to make a difference and we're going to make a difference, this, that, and the other. But it was such hard work. I was thinking to myself, did we make a mistake?
Wait, I left all my friends to go with him. Wait a minute. But you know what, though? Here's the thing. And, you can reflect back. That was probably the best experience because the first school we were at, which we loved, that was comfortable. That was very comfortable. And in a good way. Every situation, you take something from it, but that was so comfortable. I mean, to this day, I laugh and say that my kindergarten shower that my parents threw was nicer for me. It was nicer than the one that, we were in that environment, But I think when you go to a place where you step out of your comfort zone, you grow. And that was one of the best experiences because when you get to be a role model to those little girls that need to see you be a role model, it's hard because I literally after the third day I told Carlvin, I said, I'm quitting. I'm not doing it. He's like, no.
It was a challenge.
But it turned out to be so amazing. And I stayed there again after you left, I retired. I'm like, I'm done. So I just,
but what the staff needed training to work in a diverse community. That's what they didn't understand.
Yeah.
And so they needed help. And I think I was there to help them. And I hired some good people to help me make a difference. And so it did become fun.
It did once we got past and it was work, but in the end, I enjoyed going there. I love those, those kids, those saucy little kids, but it just, again, every experience that makes you uncomfortable, that you grow into it and you just become a better person, in terms of education, you become a better educator and you take those things into your life and you just become a better person, just in general, you know what I mean? So, and it's like, I wish people could just take little nibbles of you and put you in schools and places that so many educators
so kind. But what's
need to
really
hear
important?
this.
What's really important is, and I tell this to administrators, when you hire for the students in the community. A lot of principals hire for themselves. I've even heard male principals say, oh man, that's a cutie over there, I'm gonna hire her. I don't care what you look like. Can you love kids? Can you
Mm,
teach kids? Can you
mm,
make a difference? Can you help kids? Those are the things that are important. Male, female, any color. I look deep when I hire people. And I think when you hire the right people, then that's when you create the right environment.
I
So
love that. Love
that's
that.
very important.
That is very true. So tell me how like your past professional experience like has kind of assisted you in various aspects of your life.
Well, I guess I'm a real good reader of people's character. And I can meet somebody for the first time and you hear me talking, and I can be very talkative when I'm talking about education. But if I'm like in a family setting and people are around and there are people that I don't know, I'm very quiet. And I think because I have a doctorate degree, people might look at he's going to be the know-it-all. I say very little, but in that process, I'm watching,
Mm,
and I can tell people about other people to be careful of, or these behaviors this person has, or this person needs this. And how do I know this? When you work with thousands of kids for 30 years and adults as well, you begin to know what people's desire is or what they're trying to get from others.
mm,
So we call it mistaken goals in positive discipline. That's what we
mhm,
call it. Like they may have to be in charge or they may have to do that. And
mhm.
kids have them too. But it's looking out for the best in people. And I don't judge people. I watch people and it lets me know that I can approach them or stay away from them. It's just self training. So that's helped me in life. And
Yeah.
I know that I did a training once, and this assistant principal who introduced me to the staff, she said, and this is Mr. Scott, and she kept saying, Mr. Scott, Mr. Scott. And the teacher said, I thought it was Dr. Scott. And I said, it is. She was refusing to use
Taking
my
all of
title.
your
He was
accolades.
refusing to. And
Mm-hmm.
so as I was speaking to him, I brought it up several times and I never throw it out. But when you refuse to use it, I'm gonna throw it on you. Because I earned that title. So
Yeah.
don't do me wrong. So
What?
when her mistaken goal is to out do me or whatever she was trying to prove with herself, it's not going to happen because I've been watching you. So
Yeah.
you
And
learn a lot. And I
yeah.
think I've become a better person. Am I good at all of this? Most days, but then I have days when I lose it just like anybody else.
Well, we're human. Are are you interested? Like, do you still want to travel? Would you still go into schools and work with faculty? Are you wanting to do that anymore? Are you just kind of in a place where you're just kind of good?
Well, as you know, I had a medical issue
You did.
this past year, and I don't mind sharing it. I had a kidney transplant. So a year ago, I told people my energy level was a 3. It's been 9 months since my transplant. My energy level is a 10.
Yes.
I have so much energy, but what it is I have to be very careful about situations that I go into. And
Mm-hmm.
schools are where germs are bred um,
Mm,
because
yeah.
of young kids, wiping noses and this, that, and the other, touch you, this, that, and the other. And I just have to be careful. So when it's time to do something additionally, I will. But right
I
now, no.
yes. Hmm. Hmm.
I'm taking care of me.
Yeah, yeah. I have a good prediction. I think there are really great things to come, and I think there will be just good things to come. So I think people should most definitely stay tuned. And normally, let me ask you a question because we always like to say if you could give somebody like a tip for success, a budding entrepreneur, budding educator, like what's a tip for success that you would kind of give that person? What's a tip for success?
Don't expect people to do things that you wouldn't do.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mhm. And one of the things too,
Hmm,
and
like,
I told people this that the administrator that I followed for my first administrative job,
mm-hmm.
um, I won't say he was the best, but I won't talk about him per se. But if let's say that there was a spill on the cafeteria floor, he would holler across the room to the custodians and then
Stop.
point, like
Oh,
right here. And
yeah.
you know that if there was a spill, I would do it. I would
Oh,
pick it up. I would sweep, mop, whatever. And custodians would jump over tables to keep me from doing what they shouldn't. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't see it, blah, blah, blah. I said, no problem. I
yeah.
just wasn't going to let a wet floor allow a child to fall down and then be sued because somebody fell. If the mop is near me and I'm in the area, mop it up. It's no sweat off my back.
Yeah. I
One, I
like
have to tell you this story. One of the
what?
things that I did, and you know this, is that as kids came into school each morning, I would watch them, and that you could see how they're interacting and what the vibe is that morning. And on this one school day, it was picture day, and this little girl came into the school and she was crying. And I said, honey, what's wrong? Come here. And she said, everybody on the bus was teasing me. And I said, what for? Well, she had stayed at her grandmother's house and it
Mm-hmm.
was picture day. And her grandmother had swooped her hair up with those loops and curls and teased it up real high. And, you know, this was an elementary child, and kids was like, oh, look at you. Your hair look like grandma's
Right.
hair, blah, blah, blah. And so she was being teased. And
Mm.
I said, honey, there's nothing wrong with your hair. Yes, it is. Everybody's teasing. I said, come with me. We'll walk together. So I took her up to the office and I said to the office, I said, ladies, tell me, do you know this child? This is Amanda. And I stood behind her and I pointed to to my hair. And then they noticed her. And, oh, don't you look beautiful today?
Mhm.
I knew the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So then I took her to the art teacher, and he was getting ready for the day because he didn't have homeroom or anything. And I pointed to my head, and he said, "Oh, I like that hairdo," and blah blah blah. And then I took this little girl to someplace else, like the counselor or somebody, and did the same thing. And everybody knew what to do because I pointed to what the issue was, and they said, "Oh, I love that hair. That's cute."
Mm-hmm.
No problem the rest of the day.
Well, you filled her
Um,
up. You filled her
that
up.
was
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
just to help her get through the day. But let
Yeah.
me tell you how that backfired. She went on, because I stayed at that school several years. She went on, and she was either in middle school or high school, and she came back to visit me. And she said, "Oh, Mr. Scott, how are you? So good to see you." And she pulled out that picture and put it on the counter at the school. And she said, "Mr. Scott, do you remember this picture?" And I said, "Oh my God." She said, "Why you lie to me?" I said, "Look at it. You still look good." And then she gave me another hug. But she knew that my mission was to help her get through the day because the kids were ragging on her about that hairstyle, and it was not an appropriate hairstyle for a child. But I helped her get through the day, and she got her picture taken with that hairdo. But
Wow. That doesn't surprise me. You have helped so many kids get through their day, so many educators get through their life. And you know what I mean? Kind of go from
well,
point
the
A.
thing that I feel is if teachers aren't well, how can they help somebody else? So a teacher has to be well rounded enough to know that these are my weaknesses and this I can't tolerate, this, that, and the other, and be able to work through that and understand it in others. I once had a teacher who was having trouble with a particular, and I said to her, at that first school where we worked, I said to her, "What does this child like? What kind of things is he interested in?" And
Mm-hmm.
she looked at me like I was crazy, and she said, "Oh no! If you ask me about his reading level and his math level and his performance, I can tell you, but I don't get into all that other stuff." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I thought, if you don't know who you're teaching, how can you teach them?
You can't.
You
You can't.
can't. I mean, if you just listen to kids and listen to their conversations, one, you can head off any problems, and two, you can understand what their interests are. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like oh man, I'm collecting these cards and blah, 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 and I'm going over my grandmother's house and I love to ride bikes. Just listen. That's all
Mm-hmm.
you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
and you understand their interests. And I tell teachers, oftentimes when you do those teacher-made tests, you can incorporate some of the students'
Thank
interests
you.
in your questions, you
Yep.
know, and
Yep.
they're just amazed. So a lot of education right now is focusing on test scores. And test scores are important, but I know that for myself, test taker.
I'm not
Never,
a taker either. I
never
was
was.
anxious. Mm-hmm.
Never was. But when you create a happy and a healthy, positive, responsible relationship environment, things just kind of take care of themselves because people help each other and everything becomes we. I know of
Mm-hmm.
another situation where in a positive discipline classroom circle that a kid shared in the classroom meeting, because you get the opportunity to, if you're struggling with something or if you need something, you get to share it with your class, and the class will give you suggestions for help. And this little boy said to me, or said in his classroom, he said, "I don't like going outside because my neighbor down the street, he always picks on me when we're out at recess." And a child came up with an answer that was beautiful. The child said, "How about when you go outside, we'll all act like we're playing in our different areas. And when this child comes around, we're going to circle you."
I love it.
They
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
And so they did. He's like, "Hey, what's the problem? What's this about?"
Yeah.
And so he walks away. He did it a second day and came and approached the little boy. The class just circled him. And you
Yeah.
know what? After
Hmm.
that time, he never bullied or harassed this child again. So that's kids working together and us
Mm-hmm.
building community to accept each other. Can kids do that on their own? Yes, if they're trained to do it. So
I
that's
love,
why school is all about training, helping, supporting, assisting the students.
I love it. I could, like I said, it's just like, what is it called? Like, what was that book? Something for the Soul, Good Soup. What was that? Remember that series of
Yes.
books? You need to
Uh,
write a series.
soup
Chicken
for
Soup
the
for the
soul,
Soul.
chicken soup
You
for the
know,
soul.
I know Bill Scott's Chicken Soups. So it is very nurturing. It's a gift. I think that it's just your might sound kind of religious. It is Lent right now, but it's your calling. It's just your calling. It's interesting. Some people go through life and they work, and I think you were blessed to be able to go through life and do something you're truly passionate about. So that is, I feel
And
blessed.
in all my schools, I worked hard
You
and
did.
I played hard.
You did.
And there were results of it, but then and I have a number of awards and whatnot that I won as an administrator, and that's not what's important. But what was important
But
is
it is important too,
the
though.
teachers. The teachers
Wait,
got
you can
these awards.
acknowledge the accolades, though. Let me stop you there. You are so humble. You have won. I'm not joking. I couldn't read the bio because there's so much stuff on here in the awards. And I think for me, I want to celebrate you. I mean, you earned them. And I get that you're like, oh, I did. You earned a lot of awards. I mean, good
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
I will acknowledge those for you.
Well,
Yes.
thank you,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
But like I said, again, I'm super excited that you know, I finally could interview you because I really, my show is about successful entrepreneurs, and you are successful in every aspect of education. You've gone on, you've done so many other things, but you continue giving back to the community, giving back to teachers, to students, to your friends. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And so I think that there's still so much more left for you to give. So we're gonna continue to see what's next for you. But thank you so much for coming on. And if we have time, I don't know, Mikey, if we have time, there was a clip that I did want to show that you did. It was an interview that you did, and I kid you not, I've shown it to anybody that will watch. I'm like, this is the best. Just kind of where, and I'm not gonna say what it is, but if Mikey has time, she will show it. But if not, tell everybody, where are you on social media if they wanted to find you or to kind of get in touch with you? Where can people find you?
I don't do a lot of social media, but you can go to my Facebook. I'm William Scott on Facebook. and I need to do better with social media. But as I'm coming back, because I'm back, when I tell you I've gone from 3 to 10, I'm a 10. I have the energy level. Just this past week, I did a 5K. Uh, yeah, I did a 5K on this past Sunday,
Are you
and
serious?
yeah, and people said you're just 9 months out of surgery, and I said God gave me another chance, and I'm not going. I have another chance to take care of this body. It's a good
Yeah.
body he gave me. I'm gonna take care of it. I want
Yeah.
to share with you this one story real quick. I do
Okay.
this when I do training, and kids and teachers really get the picture. Can you see it? It's kind of
Yeah.
light.
Hmm.
Okay, this is my friend Jamal, and Jamal lives in a single parent family with his mother and his sister. And one day he got up and he didn't want to get out of bed. He was very, very tired. He didn't want to get out of bed. And the mom said, "Get out of bed, come on, and get some breakfast. It's time to get some breakfast. Get down here." And he's staying in the bedroom and in the bathroom, and he's trying to get his hair right and he's brushing his teeth. And then finally he goes downstairs and his mother says, "I'm putting the food away. It's too late. The bus, you need to catch the bus." So he takes a hit right then because he didn't get to eat breakfast. And then he says, "I can't find my shoe. I can't find my shoe." And his sister starts laughing at him. He takes another hit. Sister says, "The bus is coming. The bus is coming." So he runs out the house, one shoe in his hand, one shoe, wearing one shoe, and he's mad, wet as a hand. And he gets on the bus and he's fussing at his sister. And he takes another hit because she was teasing him. He gets on the bus and the bus driver says, uh, when everybody gets off the bus, she says, "You need to stay here a minute." And she said, "I'm not going to wait on you every day because you can't get your act together. You need to get your act together." He takes another hit. He goes in, he's going to have breakfast at school. The ladies at the in the lunchroom say, "It's too late. We've closed down the cafeteria." He takes another hit. He goes to his classroom, and by then he's very upset and he's almost in tears. And he says, and he doesn't say anything. And the teacher says, "Don't come in here with that attitude." This little kid, his day is shot already, and it's not even 8 o'clock. Nobody's taken the time to say, "Can I help you? What can I do? What's going on in your life?" And we have kids that come to us every day with hits, bruises, and bumps. And what we do, we add to it. We need to make sure we don't add to it, that we make sure that our kids do better every day that they come. Because if you think about it, as adults, we have conflicts in the morning with our spouses, with our kids, with whomever. We can't find our car keys and it ruins our day. We take hits and we expect people to understand it. Kids are people too, and don't ever forget that. And that's all I needed to say.
You are not going to mess up my makeup, okay? That was like, I was like, you are just a good, good, good person. I am
Okay.
really, I am so happy.
You're a good person too. Thank you.
I am happy that I know you. And I am so excited that we got a chance to really talk today and
Absolutely.
able to kind of get to know a little bit more about you. Because literally, I'm not joking. Today, I told Jackson, I said, I'm gonna be interviewing. You've always been, Mr. Scott. I said, Dr. Scott now. He was like, "Mommy, I know all about him." It's like,
Why not? Why not?
all about him. So anyway, continue to do wonderful things. I am so happy for everything you're doing, continuing to do your health, and until I see you next time. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you. It was truly a pleasure. And
Thank you.
if I can help anybody in their journey to be a good educator, I'm always willing to help. You see all these books behind me. I hadn't read all of them, but I've read most of them. And I learned from other people. I learned by watching, I learned by reading, I learned by watching other people modeling and asking questions. So not everything comes out of a book, but it comes from the people that you meet and the people that you associate with. Some things are good things, some things are not. So make sure that you're always looking for the best in others and know when to leave people alone because they're not representing what you want to be.
Now you're getting deep. That was really look, slap it. I'm dropping my mic right now.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye. Okay. I know we ran over Mikey. I know, but it's Bill. That was such a great interview, guys. I hope that you have enjoyed learning more about Dr. Scott, and be sure to follow him on social media. And you can also see him on our website at indiestyletv.com. Until next time, I am Leah DeVon. You be well.
You're broken down and tired of a living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Ooh, mountain, we gon' walk it out. Ooh, mountain. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the wave, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it is getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move, mountain, bring it to its feet. Move, mountain, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. All we need, all we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. And we will rise, we'll rise, we'll rise. Oh, we'll rise. I'll rise up, high like the wave, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times.